An undefeated force from mountain has occupied the lightweight throne. Not the embodiment of the successor, but the instrument in his own destiny. Raging beast from Dagestan, who waited all his life for a chance to create his legacy. Tearing everyone apart, limb from limb. Fighting like hell during all his career to become king of kings. Simply put, a man consumed with the idea of redirecting history.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
A lightweight king. A bulletproof juggernaut without any lost fight behind his back, period. Is it even possible to stop this ravenous beast? How do you kill a king? This is MMA time. And today we'll try to make a game plan against Khabib Nurmagomedov. During this video, we'll try to create a theoretical game plan against Khabib by exploring gaps in his techniques and using them against him. This is not a prediction of his upcoming fight in any way. In order to find out how to put this alpha dog down, let's look at the UFC history first. If we look at a grander scale of things, Cycle of Champions is quite systematic. It's all about styles. Wrestler beats striker, balanced fighter beats wrestler, and strikers generally put down balanced. Wrestler Matt Hughes was a dominant champion at the time. He was blowing away all his opponents one by one, while he was dealing with strikers. But when he has encountered a unique fighter with high boxing and jiu-jitsu skills, he lost. This was a moment of triumph of BJ Penn. His diverse skill set revealed him as a truly balanced fighter, although not for long. Talking about more recent examples, we have Daniel Cormier, former teammate of Khabib. With all his experience and high-level fighting skills, he, however, couldn't handle balanced fighters, who were good both at wrestling and striking, such as Jones and Miocic. Is there another Miocic for Khabib among today's lightweight fighters? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Game plan against Khabib revolves around the third and fourth round being best case scenario. Lead coach from aka Xavier Mendes always tells Khabib to stick to his father's game plan and not mess with the opponents. We shall take these words with a grain of salt. Although plenty of fans believe Khabib knows no rest and just fiddles with his striking in round 3, that's not the point here. Truth being told, almost every fighter raised in AKA works by the scheme of 2 rounds, actively pressing the opponent and taking a break in the third. The shining example of this attitude is Cain Velasquez. His fatigue failed him against Verdum in round 3. The case was readjustment, or at least so he said after the match. Another lead fighter from AKA is Daniel Cormier. DC took first 2 rounds and then Jones exhausted him by hitting in torso and performed a knockout with high kick in round 3. Cormier also was taken down by Gustafsson, again in the round 3. Same was with Miocic, although this time he lost in the beginning of round 4 and got dropped in third. With this in mind, we can re-examine Khabib's technique and realize that he is not able to fight this fast, and he's just really good at hiding his fatigue. Back in the days, everyone made fun of McGregor's game plan, who tried to exhaust Beast from Dagestan, but he might actually invented the way to beat him, despite not being able to perform it himself. In order to defeat Khabib, one must accept his terms. Do not afraid to wrestle on canvas. Avoid escaping it early. The best way is to hold Khabib on guard, counter his head with elbows and force him to change positions. He loses momentum that way, and wait for a perfect moment to strike. Khabib often tricks his opponents into changing position himself, and this decoy often works in his favor and allows him to take advantage. Contrary to common belief, one wrestling from the bottom can really exhaust his opponent from the top, who wastes a lot of effort on controlling, dominating, and holding his position. Conor confirmed this quite well during the fight with Chad Mendes, but his endurance wasn't enough to handle Khabib. So this is a really dangerous game of stamina, and losing it makes the difference. Nurmagomedov turned it into his benefit fighting with McGregor, and unlike Chet, made him waste his energy in full guard. After Conor, Khabib fought Dustin Poirier, who did everything vice versa. He was trying to get back up from the moment he got taken down, and when they stood up, he was headhunting. As a result, way worse performance than McGregor, despite having better cardio and jiu-jitsu. And if you don't believe that you can wear out opponent from button position, here is legendary fight Shamrock Ortiz, which proved that fighting from the back leaves opponent completely dry if managed right. Frank wrestled this way 4 rounds in a row before keeping back on his toes and knocking out his exhausted rival. Striking must be aimed at torso. Almost everyone who stood against Khabib went for a head, which is not so effective during first rounds. Kicks are dangerous against Khabib, so hooks, uppercuts, and punches level by level will do the job. Striking with Khabib is a whole another can of worms. Nurmagomedov moves only back and forth due to big space behind him and not being afraid to clinch. Staying next to mesh is no option against Dagestan Beast. One must play aggressively, go in circles, cut the corners, and leave no place for maneuver. Sure, not everyone is able to bring this game plan to life. It's all about holding the distance while keeping opponent on his toes. Otherwise, it will end with a takedown. His defense is also worth mentioning. It looks like Dustin Poirier hillbilly shoulder roll from the time he belonged in fairweather class. His backhand always covers his face with elbow budged. Another blocks torso strikes and uses shoulder for dodge. This seemingly unbreakable defense is no use against an experienced striker, as we can see on the example of Poirier-McGregor fight. Irishman began the fight throwing jab with left hook combined, but couldn't quite reach Dustin's jaw, so he had to make some adjustments. Feeding Yankee with fakes from the right, Conor doubled his jab, shortening the distance and punched Dustin straight into his head, performing knockout. Poirier faced the same tactics fighting Michael Johnson, and after a couple of knockouts he made a total overhaul of his defense. These examples show that hillbilly shoulder roll can be broken by leaving no place to dodge and fast attack with a punch aiming around the backhand. Iaquinta performed this multiple times fighting with Khabib during his last matches. Also, Nurmagomedov often raises his chin when facing the attack, following his reflexes. But his flaws are not all about defense. Eagle is not really good at striking, which is a well-known fact. His blows are not hard enough, so he tries to compensate it with decoys. Like that time he fought McGregor. One of his major problems is a jumping knee. His father says that Khabib always holds hands nearby chin while jumping, but he actually doesn't. He uses his knee to shorten the distance, and as a matter of fact, it's a sign of desperation. When he fails at wrestling or pressing the opponent in the later rounds, his knee is a pure gamble with all or nothing in mind. It worked for his favor up to this point, but it's all about reading his movements and understanding that his outrageous attempts to push back are dictated by frustration. This is a situation when a good strike can catch him off guard, the same way Yemelyanenko caught Arlovsky. That all being said, our game plan against Khabib looks like this. First, do not avoid wrestling. As much as ridiculous it sounds, Eagle won't be tired if he doesn't have to struggle. Do not avoid takedowns, make him work from his back, keep him in guard, and force transitions. 2 rounds are all about exhausting Khabib, keeping him under control by kicking his torso on different levels. You have to meet the 3rd round more fresh than Nurmagomedov. Iaquinta did it, but he failed to realize it and was afraid of being pulled over. This time around, Khabib won't try to wrestle in order to stay on his toes. This will be the time to use everything against him. Jabs, body hooks, leg kicks and front kicks. Pushing him to the mesh will leave him open for a jab and a hook behind his head. However, keep in mind his mental state. Nurmagomedov never gives up in fight, and he may surprise you with a flying knee. You should be prepared for it. The 3rd round is the perfect time to take him down. As for now, Khabib Nurmagomedov is one of the hardest opponents in the history of the UFC, so making a theoretical game plan that is able to take down Eagle is something that was worth a shot. And who do you think is able to beat Khabib, if there is such a fighter? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Also, if you want to know more about tactics against other leading champions, like this video, and we'll tell you more about how you take down a king.
If you like our content and want to support our channel, visit our Patreon. There are a lot of analyses of fighters, top 5s, documentaries and much more. Link is in the description. If you like that type of content, hit like button, smash subscribe and kick that notification button.